When I was about 13 years old, my father was injured on the job. He was a mechanic in the King County motor pool. We had recently moved to Seattle from New York City, where I was born, but spent the first 8 or 9 years of my life there, moved here shortly thereafter. And like a lot of people, we came to Seattle because it was a place where we thought that there was going to be opportunity, good times, and instead, very quickly, we fell on hard ones as a result of my father's workplace injury. I didn't know it when this took place in October of 1998, but that incident really had a lot to do with the reason why I ever wanted to enter into public service. It is a big part of the reason why today I believe in strong unions, and I think that unions are the lifeblood for so many working families across our state. It is a big part of the reason why I believe we need to be doing everything that we can as policymakers to make sure that we have a functioning and valid and really strong social safety net. Our family depended on cash assistance programs for many years after my father suffered that injury. And it is also a big part of the reason why I think that universal health care, I think, is a staple policy measure that anybody who considers themselves on the broadly defined left, or frankly anybody who thinks of themselves as forward thinking, is something that we have to commit to and take actionable steps towards. And that is why I was so honored to accept the invitation to be able to speak tonight, because I know that Whole Washington has been a staple in that fight for many years, and hopefully will not have to be a staple in that fight for too many years longer, because state lawmakers do their job and take action on this policy that we know is popular with people in all four corners of our state. I was elected in November of 2024 as the second open socialist, certainly not the second accused socialist to serve in the state legislature, but definitely the second open one to serve in the state legislature since 1914. Shortly after I was elected, I did have a little bit of downtime to do a little bit of research into what my predecessor, as it were, was up to back in 1912 when he was first elected. He was a man named Representative William H. Kingery. He was somebody who stood for universal health care and socialized food and medicine in Washington state. He was somebody who was an active member of his timber workers' union. And at the same time that I would have liked to have seen that maybe he was able to make some more progress on the issues that he really cared about over a century ago, it was also very heartening to know that this is an issue that has reverberated throughout the generations. It's an issue that reverberates across LD lines. I do believe it is also an issue that in many ways reverberates across some of the political divisions that I think we've been accustomed to seeing and taken for granted. And a large part of that has to do with the coalition building work that Whole Washington has been a spearhead of for many years here in the state. I was very proud to stand on the steps of the state capitol late last year in December of 2025 and unveiling House Bill 2100, which is a bill that would help to backfill some of the devastating cuts that we are seeing to housing, healthcare, and higher education in Washington state. At the same time that I knew that Seattle DSA, which I've been a member since 2017, was going to be a partner in that fight. We also knew that right on the front lines was going to be Whole Washington, because the people in this room and Whole Washington as an organization understands as well as anybody the need to fund healthcare at the root, not just to make it accessible, but to make it universal, to make it universally available. We were not successful in that fight in the short term, but I have come to see in the state legislature that sticking up for these issues does not, and being a champion on these issues does not mean that you always win or that everything always goes your way. What it actually means is that you don't stop competing and you take every opportunity to show and impress upon people who are watching that it is possible for us to achieve better than what it is that we have inherited. And we have inherited, I'm a member of the millennial generation. I think I might be the world's oldest millennial. I haven't done the math quite yet, but at 41 years old, I am technically a millennial, not a young person anymore, but our generational cohort, the world that we inherited was one where we've gotten used to seeing a small amount of billionaires hoard huge amounts of wealth. We've gotten used to the idea that somebody who committed the cardinal sin of getting sick, getting ill, getting injured on the job, that would be something that could potentially plunge your family into poverty and into hard times. What we have also inherited, I think, is a sense of malaise, a sense that there's not really much that we can do about this. And that's why it's so inspiring to see so many of us fighting back, showing that things can be better than they actually are. As we say in Seattle DSA and DSA generally, a better world is actually possible. And I really can't think of a more, that's right, I can't think of a more relevant way, and I can't think of a better way of bringing that world into existence than to create a world where people are able to access care when they come into the world, when they experience adversity while they're here, and then again, when we're at the end of our lives. This is a universal condition, and so the solution to that should be universal as well in the form of universal health care. So just wanted to lend a few words in support, and knowing that you're going to have at least one lawmaker in the state legislature in the 43rd legislative district. We know from Representative Parshley talking a little bit earlier, she's going to be on the front lines in this fight as well. I think that if this year has shown us anything, the only thing better than one Representative Scott in the state legislature is two. There are going to be other champions who are going to be coming in who understand how vital this fight is going to be. And I can't wait to play my part alongside this coalition and this coalition space with everybody who's shown support on this issue for so long. Solidarity forever.